Postal is a series that a ton of people are aware of, but many only know the games on the most surface level, not being aware that the games have a ton of secrets, need details, and cut content to be found. There's already a popular Postal Iceberg video by a buff wizard. That video is almost entirely based on an iceberg image I created over 3 years ago, but now the series has enough new content to justify an update. Alongside the new entries, a few old ones have been expanded upon with new information. Let's begin. Layer 1. Beta Shotgun. A while after Postal 2's release, Running with Scissors released their leftover beta files online. Among them were the original shotgun assets from before it was redesigned early in development. In 2006, a mod called Eternal Damnation included the beta shotgun as one of the weapons. Eventually, most Eternal Damnation weapons were ported back into Postal 2, including the beta shotgun. Eternal Damnation included an old fire which was lost in the porting process, although a nerfed version of it was brought back in the 20th anniversary update. Holiday Events. Postal 2's modern versions include holiday events, which trigger when playing the game on certain days. On Valentine's Day, NPCs can be seen holding flowers and there is a kissing booth in the home area. On St. Patrick's Day, there is a wish granting leprechaun and a pot of gold. On April Fools, a DLC menu gets added to the main menu. On Easter, you can fight a rabbit in the forest, and on Halloween, Paradise gets a makeover and new enemies periodically appear. These events become toggleable after beating the game on Heston World difficulty. Tora Bora. Tora Bora is a secret location in Postal 2, added in the Share the Pain update. To get there, the player must find one of the few sewer entrances scattered around Paradise and then go through the Taliban-infested sewers. The map is filled with enemies and finishing it provides a powerful weapon. From Monday to Thursday it's a WMD and on Friday it's the mini nuke launcher. Sawed-off Shotgun. Modern versions of Postal 2 feature a really powerful weapon, the Sawed-off Shotgun. Most players these days are aware of it, but many don't know that it comes from Eternal Damnation, where it was less powerful than the modern variant. The weapon was so comically overpowered that it was nerfed in the 20th anniversary update. Pacifism. It's pretty well known that you can beat most Postal games pacifist, but some errands actually have alternate pacifist paths. Most errands, which include buying things, can be skipped by buying the required item, but some are more unique. For example, you can give Crotchy Gary Coleman's autographed book to get a doll.
How's this sound? You give me that last crotchy doll you've got hidden up your ass, and I'll give you this freshly autographed Gary Coleman book.
Bitch, you got yourself a deal.
Thanks.
Have a crotchy day.
Layer 2. Marching Band Bomber. On Tuesday, a marching band will march in the area near the dude's trailer. If they don't get distracted by the player's chaos, a Taliban member will eventually run up to them and explode. Postal 2 VR. When Postal 2 initially launched, the mall had a closed-off section with a sign that read, "Closed for renovations, reopening June 2016. When that date came, Postal 2 received an update which added the missing area. Inside is a table with a VR headset. Putting it on transports the dude to a VR version of Steam, where the player can look at game parodies and buy a boxed copy of Postal Redux. Civi's Crack Shack. In Postal 4, there's a store called Civi's Crack Shack, where a YouTuber named Civi11 makes a cameo, selling health pipes for cheap. Civi11 is a pretty well-known figure in the Postal community due to his pro-Postal series. Eternal Damnation. The earlier mentioned Eternal Damnation is a Postal 2 total conversion mod developed by Resurrection Studios and released in 2006. It's a linear, Apocalypse Weekend-style campaign about a man named John Murray trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. The mod is notable for being really important to Postal 2's history, having many of its features, like most of the weapons, ported back to base Postal 2 after it was released on Steam in 2013. Podcast. Running with Scissors has an official podcast called I Regret Nothing. It usually has Mike J, Pedro Santos, and Matthew Gowold. My favorite episode is the one where Mike J replies to my comment telling me to go fuck myself.
Shit about it. And for those people that are tired of us talking shit about it, fuck you. Okay?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's our brand. We'll talk shit about whatever the fuck we want.
Cancelled features on gravestones. The graveyard in Postal 2 has a ton of graves. Most have nothing on them, but a few feature mentions of cancelled features, although it's not known how exactly these features would look like in practice. Pinball. Zakaria Pinball is a pinball game released by Magic Pixel Kit in 2016. It has 2 officially licensed Postal-themed DLCs, one for Postal 2 and one for Postal Redux, both featuring 4 tables each. AK-47. The AK-47 is a weapon introduced in Postal 4, but it appeared a few times before that. The old Postal 2 cover art featured the dude holding one, and there's an infamous CNN Postal 1 report where they show a silhouette of an M16 while calling it an AK-47.
The wall poster of the big E3 computer game show in Atlanta bears the unmistakable image of an AK-47 rifle.
Super Postal. Super Postal is the name of the Japanese release of Postal 1. Its most notable difference from the English version is the inclusion of 2 new levels, Osaka and Tokyo. When Postal 1 came to Steam and GOG, these levels were added to the international version. Demon. The dude in Postal 1 is believed to have been possessed by a demon, with Rick Hunter voicing the demon and not the dude. His voice in the settings is labeled as demon, and when the dude is on fire, the screams are voiced by a different person. Redux further supports this theory, separating the demon's bloodthirsty ramblings and the dude's own thoughts, showing one or the other on the loading screens depending on the difficulty. In the Rampage mode ending, a therapist talks about how the dude is playing a game in his head, and that he desires the judgment of an unknown figure, presumably the demon. Additionally, in the original Postal 1, Rick's Hunter's quips only play when a demon object is in the level. Sewer count. The YouTuber Civi11 has a running gag in his videos where he counts every single sewer he finds in a game.
Action! It's sewer time!
In the Postal 4 sewers, you can find a reference to that bit. Real Pigeon Mission. The Pigeon Mission mentioned in Apocalypse Weekend was, as far as we know, supposed to be real before getting scrapped. The cutscene that came out of it is probably better than whatever the mission would have been. Corkscrew Rules. Postal 2, Sztopor Rzot, known as Corkscrew Rules in English, is a semi-official Postal 2 expansion. It was developed by Avalon Style Entertainment and published by Akela, Postal's official publisher in Russia. It's known for being a bit more controversial with its jokes and for being pretty shit. It was initially only released in Russia, but it eventually received an English dub in the Japanese release, known as Postal 2, From Russia with Love. Postal 2 Beta. Postal 2 changed a lot during development. The dude originally lived inside a house, the guns looked different, there were major map changes, etc. There's a really old Steam forum post by the official community manager, Zeron, which lists some beta features. I was very suspicious of this, so I reached out to Mike J, and he more or less confirmed the post is BS. One of the better sources of Postal 2 beta information is prepostal2.avi, a video included with the American versions of Postal X, and this old alpha video. We also have these screenshots of really old builds of the game. John Murray in Paradise Lost. John Murray is the protagonist of the earlier mentioned Eternal Damnation. He has a cameo in Paradise Lost where he's being held in the Asylum, praying to the AC part. Brain Damaged Pre-Alpha. Postal Brain Damaged is a pretty cartoony game, but it didn't always look this way. The game's reveal trailer showed a very early concept where the game was darker and less cartoony. Some have criticized the game's art style change, thinking a grittier game in the style of Postal 1 would be a better fit. Real Champ. Champ is the Postal dude's dog, but many are unaware that he also existed in real life. He was one of Vince Desi's dogs, and he sadly passed away on May 23rd, 2011. There's more to say about him, but that's in a later entry. Postal. Postal Royale is a joke game released by Running with Scissors on April Fool's 2023. It's a shitty top-down shooter developed by a group of fans known as the C-Team. We are apparently supposed to get updates sometime in the future that will make the game better. Postal Free Leak. In June 2020, early builds of Postal 3 leaked, alongside early assets, design documents, and the like. Interestingly enough, this Postal 3 leak isn't known for being a Postal 3 leak, but because for whatever reason it also included early builds of Valve's Team Fortress 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. USPS Lawsuit. After Postal's release in 1997, Running with Scissors was sued by the USPS because they didn't like the word Postal being associated with a game about murdering hundreds of people. The lawsuit went on for years, but nothing ever came of it. Happy Night. Happy Night is a Christmas-themed total conversion mod for Postal 2, originally released in 2015 by Revival Games. This is not to be confused with a very Postal Christmas, the 2004 Christmas-themed total conversion. Happy Night adds an entire new day to Postal 2, with new objectives, new and reworked weapons, etc. It integrates several other mods into itself, like Project Marika, which adds working vehicles to the game. It's a mod so advanced that it runs on a modified version of the Postal 2 engine, known as Postal XX. Mobile Postal Games. There are two Postal games released exclusively for Java phones. One simply titled Postal, often called Postal Mobile by the community, is a top-down shooter. The other, Postal Babes, is a side-scroller beat-em-up. Both aren't anything to write home about. There's also an Android port of Postal 1, which can be bought from the Running with Scissors website. Oh, Sir, The Insult Simulator is an indie game released in 2016. It features several video game characters known for their one-liners as cameos, one of them being the Postal Dude.
Your mother smells of Crotchy the giant scrotum and looks like a hamster, which seemed intuitive in design docs.
Layer 3. Mike J's Piss Dance. Mike Jared Shacher, also known as Mike J, is one of the top guys at Running with Scissors. In a few locations in Postal 2, he appears as an NPC, and if the dude pisses on him, instead of reacting with disgust like most NPCs, he will start dancing. Postal 2. Smell the Pain. In Apocalypse Weekend, a greedy company named Bullfish Interactive steals Postal 2's source code and uses it to make a cheap knockoff titled Postal 2, Smell the Pain. Bullfish Interactive is a parody of Whiptail Interactive, the real-life publisher of Postal 2, who Running with Scissors had a dispute with. Postal Site. Postal site is an old Polish site centered around Postal. It used to be really popular in Poland and many used their download section to host their mods. It disappeared sometime in 2018 and the forum was revived in 2020. Luckily, the old forum posts were restored, but the download section is gone. Classic outfit in Postal 4. In Postal 4, the player can choose the dude's outfit. One of those is the classic Postal 2 trench coat. Before the update that added outfits, and for some time after they were added, you could find the coat as an easter egg in the antique shop, though since then this has been removed. Postal Free Rickroll. Running with Scissors' official site features links to all their games. Clicking on Postal Free redirects you to a certain YouTube video. Postal X. Postal X is the 10th anniversary release of the Postal franchise, released back in 2007. It included Postal 1 and 2, Apocalypse Weekend, and for the first time ever, a few Postal 2 mods. Those mods being the earlier mentioned Eternal Damnation, another total conversion called A Very Postal Christmas, and the quality of life mod A Week in Paradise. Certain releases also included the Music to Go Postal Buy album, which I'll talk about later, and a CD filled with random bonuses. Chinese food. In Postal 2, sometimes fast food is replaced with Chinese food. Picking it up gives you fast food, since it's just a model swap. A Week in Paradise Steam removed content. Modern Postal 2 versions feature a mode called A Week in Paradise, which combines the base campaign and the Apocalypse Weekend expansion. This mode was originally an unofficial mod, but it was added to the base game when Postal 2 came to Steam. The mod featured many additions that were cut from the Steam version, like the new weapons and items, new maps, playable arcades, etc. Gonorrhea skip. One of the Friday errands in Postal 2 is to get a cure for the dude's gonorrhea. The errand only gets added to your to-do list after pissing, since otherwise the dude wouldn't know about his disease. If you don't piss at all during Friday and finish the other 3 errands, you get to skip the cure errand. Postal 2 x 2. Sometime after releasing Postal 2, Paradise Lost, Running with Scissors started developing Postal 2 x 2, a full remake of Postal 2 on Unreal Engine 4. After some time, they realized that with how much effort they'll have to put into the production, they might as well make a new game, and that's how we got Postal 4, No Regrets. Running with Scissors mentioned 2 x 2 a few times since then, suggesting that they might finish it someday. Some of its leftovers can be found in Postal 4, notably a few lines voiced by Rick Hunter, which suggest the game wouldn't be a one-to-one remake, with the dude being aware that he experienced the story already.
This place looks kind of familiar. Ugh, what's that awful, yet strangely familiar stench? Hey, don't I know you? Crap. Hi, I'd like to buy this nauseating carton of festering rot that vaguely resembles milk. No beer? Well, there's gotta be something to drink around here. Well, as long as I'm supporting the local economy.
Books. Not many know this, but there are 4 official Postal books. The first one is Postal by Brock Wilbur and Nathan Rabin, and it's a book about the history of the Postal franchise. The other 3 are novels. Postal, Special Delivery, is the only one officially available in English, written by Alisa Bogodarova in 2015. The other 2 are Russian, and were released in 2011 and 2012. Unused voice lines. The Postal series has a lot of voice lines that went unused in the final games. Many of them hint at features that were cut from the games, making them really useful for figuring out what changed during development. For example, one of the lines hints at a cut errand where the dude would have to deliver motherboards to Grossman's arcade.
I better drop this off at the arcade before anything bad happens to it.
Where is the Love? Where is the Love is a song by the band Black Eyed Peas. One of the scenes in the music video has a couple kids sitting in front of a TV playing Postal 2, which implies the game is on console despite it being PC only. Paradise Lost Dinosaur. In Paradise Lost, during the Creature Control Center and Pets errand, if the player crawls through a vent and jumps on some trucks, they can get to a hidden room filled with dinosaurs. Water Physics. In several places in Postal 2, you can find water. If you piss into the water, 9 times out of 10 it will behave weirdly. Music to Go Postal By. Music to Go Postal By is an album of songs of various genres made by various indie artists released by Running with Scissors in 2006. Originally it was a standalone release, but later it was included in Postal X. These days you can find it pretty much anywhere. In 2022, Running with Scissors released a sequel, Music to Go Postal By Volume 2, Postal 4 Edition. Dopefish Lives. The Dopefish is a video game meme from the 90s. It was originally an enemy in id Software's Commander Keen 4, and it has since then appeared in many later id Software games as an Easter egg. Since then, the bit has been adopted by other developers, and you can find it in many popular games. The Dopefish appears in Paradise Lost in the sewers, in Postal 4 as graffiti, and in Brain Damaged in one of the secret areas in the first level. Gary and Croce in Jail. In Postal 2, on Friday you can find both Gary and Crotchy locked up in jail for their horrible crimes. What's interesting is that these two characters appear in multiple places on the same day. Gary vs Crotchy. In Postal 2, there's a blocked off area in the west side of the mall. To get there, the player needs to kick over a ladder which only appears on Friday. Entering the blocked off path will lead you to an empty arena. Visiting this arena during the apocalypse will allow you to watch multiple clones of Gary and Crotchy fight and will award the player with the Gary vs the Cayman achievement. Bigfoot spotted in Paradise. In the Paradise police station, the board mentions Bigfoot being spotted in Paradise. Bigfoot is obviously not in the game, but he does appear in the officially endorsed mod A Very Postal Christmas. Redux Clowns. Postal Redux introduced clowns. They appear as enemies in the carnival level, as bots in multiplayer, and as a selectable player model. Clowns were a cut feature from Postal 2. We don't know exactly what role they were gonna play in the game gameplay-wise, but we have a general idea from their tombstone. Postal 3 Easter Egg Room. In Postal 3, during the mission Crotchy Meal Toy Delivery, the player can access a hidden room by breaking this window, which is unbreakable during the other missions that take place in this part of Catharsis. The room features most of the important characters sitting around, watching Jennifer Walcott dance. Fun games. Despite many Postal mods existing, there aren't nearly as many entirely original fun games. Most that are out there were made for the Postal Jam, a game jam hosted by Running with Scissors. In 2023, the winning entries were Night of the Itching Crotch, a Game Boy Color game made by Debaco and Sporking, and The Postman Shoots Twice, a first-person shooter by Kesha Film. The jam was hosted again in 2024, which I entered alongside a Buff Wizard. Our game got 3rd place. Diamond Ore. In the coal mine in Paradise Lost, on one of the rock walls you can find a Minecraft diamond ore texture. Postal 1 Dude original appearance. The marketing for Postal 1 included a photo of a man dressed as the Postal Dude. He looks quite different compared to the final endgame version, having longer hair and holding an AK-47. The photo is old enough that no one remembers who this man actually is. 69 coin. In Paradise Lost, if you return to the train yard on Wednesday, you can buy a chip with the number 69 on it. Aside from being a Fallout reference, it was supposed to be usable in a jukebox, but that idea didn't make it into the final release. Konami code. Inputting the famous Konami code, up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, while selecting a difficulty in Postal 2 allows you to create your own custom difficulty. Dude_scratch_temp.wave. Dude_scratch_temp.wave is an unused file left in Postal 2. It's an audio file featuring a Running with Scissors employee reading out a bunch of the dude's lines.
Normally I'd expect a fancy cinematic to explain such a crucial story element. The font is nice though.
It's assumed that these were used as placeholders before Rick Hunter got to voice the dude. Old Postal 2 Dude Head Model. This is the dude in Postal 2, at least in the modern versions. The head model you probably associate with the dude was added in Apocalypse Weekend and then later backported to the base game when it came to Steam, although without the bandages. In the original versions of the game, the dude used a different head model that looked noticeably more grumpy. Test subtitle spam.fuck. Test subtitle spam.fuck is a test map included in the Steam port of Postal 2. As the name implies, it was used to test a new subtitle system.
Fascinating. I better get out of here.
Smoking weed. Most people know about the health pipes, but few are aware that you can smoke weed in Postal 2. First, find a plant and then set it on fire. This can overheal you to 200 HP. There is an unused texture left in the game files that suggests that at one point, weed was an item. Old Discord server. The current Running with Scissors Discord server, the one at discord.gg/RWS Studios, isn't the first official Postal Discord server. There's actually a community server that was endorsed by Running with Scissors for years before they decided to make their own in May 2022. The reason for this split was that Running with Scissors wanted a server they could call their own. As a consequence of the old server acting as the official one for so long, it's verified, while the current official one isn't. Layer 4. Postal Free Fun in Paradise Lost. In Paradise Lost, there's a locked house near what used to be the Running with Scissors offices. The player can enter the house through the window, which will reveal that inside is a dead Postal Free Fun hanging from a noose. Linux Achievement. Postal 2's modern release includes achievements, both in-game and on Steam. In the files, there is data related to an achievement that was cut from the final version. Mr. Postal's Penguins played the Linux version of the game. A similar achievement exists in the Steam version of Postal 1. Balmer Boller played the Mac or Linux version of the game. Lone Taliban in the library. During Postal 2's Tuesday, the dude has to visit a library to return his book. You can find a Taliban member in one of the rooms checking out books about making explosives. Just like the protesters, he becomes aggressive to the dude when the library starts burning. Shit Donut. In Postal 2, not far from the zoo, you can find a donut store, but one of the donuts isn't like the others. Eating it will only heal 1 health point and will make the dude choke. Throwing it in front of a police officer will make them eat it and vomit, behaving the same way as a donut that was pissed on. 11-foot wastebasket in Paradise Lost. In Apocalypse Weekend, one of the errands revolves around killing elephants to make 11-foot wastebaskets. You never see the final product in Apocalypse Weekend, but you can find one in Paradise Lost inside the PU Games building. Cat protesters. There were several protester groups planned for Postal 2 that didn't make it to the final release. The first of these are vegans, which have the most remnants left in the final game. They appear in several places in the game, wearing green clothing branded with anti-meat slogans. The Protester House, which has anti-video game signs on Monday and anti-book signs on Tuesday, has anti-meat signs on Thursday, implying that vegan protesters were supposed to protest that day. Additionally, the files contain the unused chant audio.
No more beef! Moo! No more beef! Moo!
The second cat group were church protesters. These don't appear in the game, but there is an unused protest sign texture and the chant audio is still in the files.
Sins, go away! God loves us, straight or gay!
The last unused protester group is the most mysterious, as the only leftover file is wm_protest_lab1.wave.
Monkey see, monkey do, stop the test before we do.
This chant was reused in Paradise Lost, but it existed since the game was initially released in 2003. Half-Life 2 Episode 2 GNOME in Postal 4. During the sewer worker errand in Postal 4, if you look up during a certain part, you can see a gnome with an orange smiley face spray painted next to it. For those not aware, this is a Half-Life reference. The smiley is a reference to the Lambada symbol seen throughout Half-Life 2, and the gnome is a reference to the infamous Half-Life 2 Episode 2 gnome. Share the Love. Share the Love is a joke game that Running with Scissors mentioned a few times. They somewhat officially announced it in December 2022, with a release date of to be decided 2023. As you might be aware, 2023 ended a while ago, and the game still isn't out. Where is it? Gauntlet. Postal 1 included a few challenge modes which weren't brought over to Redux. One of these is the Gauntlet, which tasks you with surviving a few minutes in different stages. One of these levels is unique, level 4, Have a Blast, as it uses a level that doesn't appear in the campaign. Assault and Battery. Assault and Battery is an unreleased VR game that Running with Scissors worked on before they pivoted to working on Postal 4. Its existence is referenced a few times in Postal 4. Antagonist in Redux. Postal Redux features a secret playable character. Typing "my name is not important" into the game chat and clicking on the code color option takes you to this menu where you can change your model to the antagonist. The antagonist, also sometimes called Not Important, is the main character of the 2016 game Hatred, which is often compared to Postal 1. Katana. After defeating the dude's lovely wife on Wednesday in Paradise Lost, the dude gets kicked out of the junkyard. If you choose to return to it later in the game, you can find the bitch's katana, a semi-secret weapon. Falling Container. In Postal 2, if the player tries to get out of bounds next to the West Mall entrance by crouch jumping over the fence, their path will be blocked by a falling container. Censored Achievements. Certain Postal 2 achievement icons were censored to not infringe on Steam's guidelines, but you can still see the original images in the in-game achievement menu. Farting. In modern Postal 2 versions, NPCs can be rarely heard farting. If you throw a match at an NPC while they're farting, they'll be set on fire. Cowdoll. The old farmer in Paradise Lost might have been keeping his cows for a reason other than milking. If you go to the top floor of his house, you can find an inflatable doll with a cow head. Postal Free Room in PU Games. In Paradise Lost, PU Games is located at what used to be the Paradise Bank. If you try to leave through the secret bank exit, you'll find that the bookcase doesn't move. To trigger the bookcase to move, the player has to press a hidden button located behind a nearby painting, and in the little armory room you can find a shrine dedicated to the best game ever made. Napalm Factory Shortcut. In Postal 2, one of the errands has you go to a napalm factory. After you get the napalm, the factory starts collapsing and the path you entered through gets blocked by a pipe. You're meant to go the other way, but you can actually go around the pipe with a crouch jump. Since the developers didn't expect the player to go there after the collapse, the area is unchanged. Riddle Software Productions. Riddle Software Productions was a game developer company owned by Vince Desi and Mike Riddle. They mostly made games for small children, which was boring enough that Vince started another company, Running with Scissors, so that they could make games for adults, and the rest is history. Mager Priest. In Postal 2, the priest near Lucky Ganesh will occasionally rob NPCs. There's evidence in the game files that this priest was supposed to rob the player after completing the milk errand. A video of a restored version of that event is available on the YouTube channel Marfitimus Blackimus, who is now a Running with Scissors employee and the lead designer of both Paradise Lost and Postal 4. Priest Wall Kill. In Postal 2, one of the errands has you confess your sins to a priest. Instead of talking to the priest, you can also kill him. Since the confessional box happens to be right next to a thin wall, you can actually kill the priest through a wall with a Molotov or a rocket launcher. This trick is often used in speedruns. Paradise Lost photo is real. In Paradise Lost, your first errand involves asking people if they've seen Chump. The photo the dude uses is actually based on a real photo of Vince holding Chump. Fart Gun. The Fart Gun is a pacifist weapon exclusive to Russian pre-order copies of Postal 3. Mods to unlock it in international copies have existed for years, but it was officially made available in the updated Postal 3 Steam and Zoom platform releases. Postal 3 Achievements. Postal 3 achievements are infamously annoying to obtain. Many of them are bugged. For example, the achievement Real American requires you to kill 235 terrorists, but the counter doesn't go up when you kill a terrorist, it goes up when you kill the Rhino boss. There used to be 2 achievements that were completely unobtainable. Chump Whisperer had you kill 100 people using Chump, but no matter what you did, nothing made the counter go up. Mega Sadist required you to chop off people's limbs so that they would die while bleeding out. That feature doesn't exist in the final game. When the game was re-released on Steam after getting delisted, 3 achievements were removed. 2 of them were the broken ones, but the third one was Bipolar, which was bugged but still obtainable. So, Bathroom in Eternal Damnation. Eternal Damnation features a recreation of the bathroom from the movie Saw as an Easter egg. You can find it in the subway station level. Skeleton Hunt. Skeleton Hunt is an arcade machine that appears in Paradise Lost. Like every other arcade machine, it's non-functional, but if you stand in front of it for long enough during the apocalypse, a skeleton will appear and attack you. Paradise Lost Bridge Lore. In Paradise Lost, you can find advertisements telling you to go under the bridge next to the old Running of Scissors offices to learn how to rob people. If you go there, you can see a guy, presumably someone who fell for the advertisement, getting robbed by bandits. Rare Ending Summaries. After beating Postal 2, you get shown various statistics about your playthrough. At the bottom of the screen you get a summary. Most people get one related to the kill count or one related to the difficulty, but there are many more, given out under specific conditions. Redux Workshop. Postal Redux was supposed to get Steam Workshop support, but the modding update never came out. Mike J stated several times that Redux was a huge waste of money, having only started making a profit over half a decade after the game came out. Layer 5. Brian survived. After beating Postal 2, you get a screen that shows you various statistics about your playthrough. When playing Apocalypse Weekend, one of the stats will be Brian survived, yes or no. Brian is one of the Running of Scissors employees that help Vince defend his house on Sunday. Brian surviving is part of a larger secret that will be discussed later. Postal 2 Texture Update. One of the post-Steam release Postal 2 updates included a change that I never see anyone talk about. The weapon and item icons were changed to more accurately depict the items. An option to play with the classic icons was added to the game in the 20th anniversary update. Caucasian's New Meat. In Paradise Lost, on Monday one of the dude's errands takes place in Caucasian, where he discovers the meat is taken from dogs. The restaurant gets invaded by dogs and it closes for the rest of the week, with the exception of Friday. If you go back when it reopens, you will find that they have a new source of meat, zombies. Original Postal Movie. The Postal movie by Uwe Boll is a comedy, but it wasn't always meant to be one. When the movie was in production, Vince Desi wanted the movie to be darker and more serious like Postal 1, something like Taxi Driver. Uwe Boll scrapped that version, instead deciding to make it a big fuck you to all his critics. Interestingly enough, Uwe Boll would later release Rampage, a movie about a man going on a killing spree. SMS Patch. The earlier mentioned Postal Babes mobile game has a feature that was cut sometime during development. By sending an SMS to HeroCraft, the game's developers, the players would be able to remove clothes from the female characters. This feature was never finished, but the graphics still exist in the game's files and can be activated by applying a fan patch. Virgin Seeds. The Virgin Seeds are an Easter egg in Paradise Lost. Behind Uncle Dave's compound, you can find the Virgin Seeds and a small plant next to the packaging. Watering the plant will make it grow with the advertised virgins and will play audio that's not very advertiser friendly. Juice. Hasidic Jews were meant to be playable characters in Postal 2's multiplayer mode, Share the Pain. Apparently, Whiptail Interactive, Postal 2's publisher, wouldn't allow them to put Jews in out of fear of a potential controversy. They appear in a single level in Eternal Damnation. Frod Hogslop survived Apocalypse Weekend. Frod Hogslop is the owner of Bullfish Interactive, a parody of Postal 2's publisher, Whiptail Interactive. The dude kills him in Apocalypse Weekend, but you can actually find him alive in Paradise Lost inside the mall, which canonically takes place a long time after Apocalypse Weekend. It's also worth mentioning that Leland, the owner of the arcade, looks very similar to Hogslop. Zombie Cow Sex. In Paradise Lost, if you return to the church during the apocalypse, you can find a zombie attempting to copulate with a zombie cow. Dude vs. Gary Matrix fight. Apocalypse Weekend begins with a pre-rendered intro of the Postal Dude having a dream before waking up in the hospital. In the game files, there's an alignment for the intro placed between
Yep, looks like everything worked out pretty good in the end. Eh, champ?
and
As far as you know, babe.
that line being.
Hey, former child star, say that Willis thing.
The purpose of this line was unknown for the longest time until Mike J revealed what it was going to be used for during one of their Discord AMAs.
There was I remember seeing video of the Postal Dude and Gary in like a Matrix style fight. It was it was like a white background. It was like in the test area in the Matrix, and there was like a fight between Gary and the Postal Dude. So that, man, dude, this is a really long time ago. and nobody, only me and Vince were there for this, and we weren't really there because we were in the other room. But yeah, there was definitely something to do with Gary and him fighting in his mind, and so there, and it was animated even. But don't ask if we still have it because we don't have shit from back then. We used to have this like big rack server and it had a backup built in, and I think like the whole thing died sometime around 2005.
Paradise Lost Suicide Bathroom. In Paradise Lost, if you go to a certain bathroom, you can see a guy blow his brains out. Box Launcher. The box launcher is a secret weapon in Postal 2. To find it, go to the Running with Scissors office while playing Enhanced mode and break open this box. If you play Paradise Lost, the box is already open. The weapon is a reskinned rocket launcher and allows you to shoot bouncing boxes which you can control with the alt fire. View models. Sometime after Postal 2 came to Steam, the view models, as in your gun on the right side of the screen, were updated to fit widescreen resolutions better. The 20th anniversary update added an option to the debug mode that allows you to adjust the view models to your liking. Demo map. Postal 2 used to have a demo. It featured only one mission, buying milk from Lucky Ganesh, and had a timer that would kick the player to the menu after a certain amount of time. It also only features one map, being the starting area, but in the full game the Lucky Ganesh is in a different map. To account for this, Lucky Ganesh was moved to the place where you can usually find Caucasian and Grossman's arcade. Hammer. Paradise Lost includes a secret weapon, the hammer. It can be found exclusively in the Hellhole, and it acts like the average melee weapon. It used to behave really weirdly prior to the 25th anniversary patch, showing the axe model after hitting anything. Errand Gallery. In the Greenbelt area of Paradise, one of the houses contains a map of the city and pictures of the locations that the dude's current day errands take place in. While it was probably just meant to be an easter egg, it implies there's someone following the dude every day, watching him perform his mundane tasks. Glitched Gimpsuit head texture. During Postal 2's Wednesday, one of the missions involves the dude being put in a gimpsuit. After you switch back to your normal clothes, the gimpsuit head texture will stay on the dude's head. This glitch was fixed in the 25th anniversary update. That beloved bookcase. If you try to go through the secret bank exit in Paradise Lost, the bookcase won't budge, as the secret exit was replaced with the earlier mentioned Postal 3 shrine. If you visit the cemetery, you can find a grave for that beloved bookcase. On Thursday, the patch of ground in front of the grave changes, and pissing on it will resurrect the bookshelf as an NPC. On Friday, the tombstone gets vandalized. More graves appear every day. In Postal 2, more graves appear in the graveyard every day. This happens even if the dude hasn't killed a single person, which implies something else is killing people. Layer 6. Postal 1 Postal 2 connection. Postal 1's canonicity is up in the air, no one knows if and when it happens, not even Running with Scissors, because they don't care. There are many theories about possible connections between Postal 1 and Postal 2. One popular theory is that the dude from the first game is the father of the dude from the rest of the series. The theory states that the grave lowered in the Redux ending is the same one as the grave you piss on in Postal 2, and that the man next to the grave when playing Redux on higher difficulties is the dude from Postal 2 with his wife. The dude's father actually appears in Postal 4 and he wears a red coat. Red was the default coat color in the CD versions of Postal 1. The pacifist ending also implies a connection. Trolley physics. In Postal 2, kicking a trolley makes it fall over. However, kicking them in Apocalypse Weekend makes them behave weirdly. They won't fall over no matter what, and they are quite deadly. This is intentional behavior, as it's shown in one of the old Apocalypse Weekend trailers. The mall makes no sense. The Paradise Mall makes no physical sense. If you look at the two maps from a top-down view, you'll realize there's no way the two can connect and still be in the L shape shown on the map. Additionally, the mall shape differs on each map. There are multiple dudes. Postal 1, Redux, and 2 all feature a multiplayer mode that allows several Postal dudes to be present. One could write this off as non-canon, but Postal Redux's co-op mode features a unique ending where multiple Postal dude lookalikes free the original dude from the cell he gets put in the normal ending. Postal 4 is getting a multiplayer mode sometime in the future, and it might shed some new light on the topic of multiple dudes being or not being canon. Postal 4 Alpha Map. On March 14th, 2021, Murphy Black, the lead designer of Postal 4, posted this image in the then official Postal server. It's a screenshot of a video of an old Postal 4 build, and the city looks totally different from the final game. He also mentioned that they have a lot of images and videos of old builds. When asked to share more, he said that maybe more will be shared when the game comes out. I personally inquired about it on the Postal subreddit, and Mike J said that they'll look into sharing them at some point. Postal 1 editor. Postal 1 used to have a level editor. It was decent for messing around, but more or less unusable for making levels, as it's made to edit existing levels instead of creating new ones. One of the more interesting things that can be discovered in the editor is the demon object, which is required for the dudes, or demons, voice lines to play. It has a graphic representing it, but it's probably not the demon's canon appearance. The editor was removed when the game was brought over to Steam and GOG. Is the dude circumcised? The Postal dude's cock has never been revealed, leaving many to theorize as to if he's circumcised or not. Mike J has in the past went on record to state that he indeed is circumcised. Map differences in the gallery. The earlier mentioned Errand gallery has a big aerial view map of Paradise. This map has a few differences compared to the final version, like the estates part, which is completely different to how it is in the final game, connecting the Running with Scissors block area to Uncle Dave's compound, with the normal entrance going to behind the dumpster close to the Running with Scissors offices instead of the tunnel next to the gas station. Project K. Project K is a prototype developed by Running with Scissors. We never got a playable version, but a video of it does exist, posted by John from Running with Scissors in 2017. Apparently, it was just a game they made to test out Unreal Engine 3. Redux Cut Ending. Postal Redux has a different ending from the game it's remaking. Postal 1 infamously ended with a cutscene of the dude attempting to kill school children and failing before falling to the ground. Redux changed the ending, but there's evidence the original ending was at one point in the game. Looking into the game files, you can find an unused child model. The unused model was eventually removed from the game in one of the updates. Postal 4 Unused Game HUD. If you look inside Postal 4's pack file with software like fmodel, you can look at the game's assets. If you look inside the HUD files, you can find mentions of a GIMP HUD. If you change this string of text in the config file into this string, you'll be able to see it in-game. What Would Chump Do? What Would Chump Do is an old animated short created by Running with Scissors. It was meant to be the first episode of a series revolving around Chump solving various world problems. The first episode is titled USA vs North Korea, and no other episodes were ever made. Dude Senior's voice. In Postal 4, on Friday you meet the dude's father, Dude Senior. When Friday first came out, version 0.5, he was voiced by Corey Cruz, but this changed with the release of 1.0. Now, who voices Dude Senior depends on which voice you chose at the start of the game. If you play as John St. John or Zach Ward, Corey Cruz voices him. If you play as Corey Cruz, he's voiced by Rick Hunter. If you play as Rick Hunter, he's voiced by John St. John. Entry.fuck. Entry.fuck is one of the maps included in Postal 2. It's pretty interesting, not because of what it includes, because it doesn't really include anything, but how it makes the game behave weirdly. If you enter the map using the debug mode, the game will stop clearing the screen each frame, and the post menu will change from the normal one to the multiplayer one. If you open the map using posted, you see this. My somewhat educated guess is that the map is used for loading to do the loading bar, and because not clearing the screen would logically result in the previous map still being visible when switching maps, like how it is when going through level transitions. Pacifist/violent choice in the beta. You can famously beat Postal 2 without harming a single person. If you take a look at the videos included in the American release of Postal X, there's a video of beta footage, and at the start you get a choice. Who do you want to play as the evil bastard or as the nice guy? This raises a lot of questions about how pacifism was handled before the game came out, but we don't have any definitive answers. Lower Paradise location. Lower Paradise is the setting in which Postal 2 Apocalypse Weekend takes place. It's not connected to the main part of Paradise at all, and it's not included on the Paradise map. It has its own hospital, separate from the one in the main part of Paradise. The closest hint to its location in relation to the original Paradise is hidden in Paradise Lost. At the end of Apocalypse Weekend, the dude sets off a nuke at Bullfish Interactive's HQ, and this nuke is an important part of the Paradise Lost story. On Monday, Croce shows the dude a movie recounting the past decade, and it shows where the nuke was set off. The blast site text overlaps the forest, but the circle radius comes from somewhere to the south and east of Paradise. Flesh and Wire. Guardian was a cancelled game by Running with Scissors, and it was meant to be their second game, following Postal. It would have started a fighter named Rak who joins a group called the Ambrax to stop an alien race called the Nullets. Rak would acquire new abilities throughout the game through genetic assimilation, and excessive use of the new abilities could permanently alter Rak's mind. The game was meant to be a third-person shooter with digitized real-life backgrounds. The concept was eventually reworked into a different game called Flesh and Wire. The new story would have followed a scummy cop named Angus who one day wakes up with an alien lower half and discovers his city has been engulfed by a bioship named the Nulloid. The game used rotoscoping for the character animations, and miniature models were made with the intention of being photographed for level backgrounds. The game was eventually cancelled after Ripcord Games, running with Scissors' publisher, was acquired by Panasonic, which resulted in support for the game being dropped. Flesh and Wire makes a small appearance as an Easter egg in the mall in Postal 3. Eternal Damnation Resurrected. Eternal Damnation Resurrected was supposed to be an official port of the classic Eternal Damnation Total Conversion mod to the Steam Workshop. It was handled by Revival Games, the mod studio responsible for Happy Night. It's been put on hold as the team was hired by Running with Scissors to help with Postal 4. There are a couple teasers for it hidden in Postal 4's Monday areas. It's unlikely that it will ever release, considering that Panshatan's workshop port makes it obsolete. Deathwad. The Deathwad is an extremely powerful secret weapon in Postal 1. To acquire it, the player must type Dahol Enchilada during gameplay. There is one other secret weapon in Postal 1, that being the double-barreled shotgun unlocked with the Break Your Sack cheat. Both of these weapons are absent from Redux, but that game has a few secret weapons of its own, those being the pistol, dynamite, assault rifle, and balloon gun. Layer 7. Power-infused Gary autobiography unlock method. The power-infused Gary autobiography is a secret item in Postal 2, which when used spawns protective Gary heads that you can throw at people, acting pretty much the same as the heads in the Mad Cow Mike J boss fight. The item can be found in enhanced mode, but the vast majority of players aren't aware that you can get it in the normal game too, but the conditions for unlocking it are extremely specific. First off, the player has to be playing on the old standalone Apocalypse weekend, which means the Steam version will not work for this. First, on Sunday during the zombie assault on Vince's house, Brian, the earlier mentioned Running with Scissors employee, must survive. On the next mission, the player must kill all the elephants using only a scythe. The third and last condition is to have resurrected a significant amount of zombies during the playthrough, which can be done by cutting the zombie's body in half with the scythe, destroying the head with a sledgehammer, and pissing on the remains. Upon fulfilling all three conditions and finishing the game, this text will appear at the bottom of your statistics, and the power-infused Gary autobiography will appear. This playground rumor, Mew under the track sounding process, has been removed in the modern versions of the game, and the book now only appears when playing enhanced mode. Dead Baby. During the Postal 1 credits, we can see a pile of corpses. Some people have pointed out that one of the corpses looks like a dead infant. Running with Scissors has went on record in the past that they would never make fun of two things: sexual assault, the accuracy of that is debatable, and violence against children. The corpse wasn't included in the Redux version. The dude dated a high schooler. One of the marketing images for Postal 1 shows a list of the dude's victims, including a 17-year-old girl who the dude burned alive. A different marketing image has the same girl say she recently dated the dude, who at the time of Postal 1 is around 30 years old. This is pretty weird, but it should be considered that it's most likely a marketing oversight. A different set of ads also use the same photos of people, and the girl's caption contradicts the one where she claims to have dated the dude. Columbine Connection. Most people are aware of the Columbine massacre. It's also pretty well known that one of the attackers, Eric Harris, was a big fan of Doom, even making some custom levels, but what most aren't aware of is that Eric also played the first Postal, at least according to his classmates. More information can be found in the book Columbine: A True Story and in police reports, but neither go into detail. This video took ages to make, and throughout the process many entries were cut and replaced with different ones. As a thank you to my members, I've uploaded an additional layer of these as a small bonus video. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, and you probably did since you're here, leave a like, and if you want more content like this in the future, subscribe. Maybe even leave a comment telling me what you think. As always, a special thank you to all the generous channel members for funding my awful videos. You too can contribute to the further spew of garbage on this channel by becoming a member for just $2 a month.